Първата история е Witch's Loaves. Our author is O'Henri. This is actually his pen name. His real name is another one, and he is born in USA. So, Witch's Loaves. Miss Martha Meacham kept the little bakery on the corner, the one where you go up 3 steps and the bell sounds when you open the door. Miss Martha was 40. Her bank book showed a savings of $2,000 and she had a kind heart. Many people have married whose chances to do so were not as good as Miss Martha's. 2 or 3 times each week a gentleman came into her bakery. She began to take an interest in him. He was a middle-aged, wore glasses, and spoke English with a strong German accent. His clothes were a little old and worn, but he looked clean and had very good manners. He always bought 2 loaves of stale bread. Fresh bread was 5 cents a loaf. Stale ones were 2 for 5. Never did he call for anything but stale bread. Once Miss Martha noticed some red and brown paint on his fingers. She was sure that he was an artist and very poor. No doubt he lived in a small room where he painted pictures, ate stale bread, and thought of the good things to eat in Miss Martha's bakery. Often, when Miss Martha sat down to eat her dinner, she would think of the poor, gentle-mannered artist. She wished that he might share her tasty food instead of eating his dry bread in a cold little room. Miss Martha's heart, as you have been told, was a kind one. One day she decided to test her idea about whether or not he was an artist. She brought from her room a painting that she'd bought at a stall earlier in the week. She placed it against the wall behind the bread counter. Happy holidays, girls! Thank you for the wishes. It was a painting of Venice, complete with churches, water, boats, and a beautiful sunset. No artist would fail to notice it. 2 days later, her gentleman came in. 2 loaves of stale bread, if you please, he said in his strong accent. You have here a fine picture, madame, he said, while she was putting the bread into a bag. Yes, says Miss Martha, smiling to herself. I do so enjoy good art, and no, it was still too early to say artists, and paintings, she said instead. You think it's a good picture? The point of view and the direction of the lines do not appear true to one another, he said, half in German. Good day, madam. He took his bread, touched his hat, and hurried out. Yes, he must be an artist. Miss Martha took the picture back to her room. How gentle and kind his eyes shined behind his glasses. What a fine mind he had. To be able to judge good art so quickly, and to live on a stale bread. But of course, life is difficult for the best artists until they are discovered. What a fine thing it would be for the art world if a mind like his could be helped by $2,000 in the bank, a bakery, and a warm heart to... Oh, but these were just daydreams, Miss Martha. Often now, when he came to the bakery, he would talk for a short while across the counter. He seemed to enjoy Miss Martha's pleasant words. He continued to buy stale bread. Never a cake or another of her delightful baked goods. She thought he was beginning to look increasingly thin. Her heart badly wanted to add something more to his dry bread. However, she knew the artists were proud people, and she was afraid to hurt that pride by giving him something for nothing. Miss Martha began to wear her favorite blue dress behind the counter. She also began using a bottle of special beauty preparation on her face, because it made her skin look healthy. One day, the gentleman came in as usual, put his 5 cents on the counter, and called for his 2 stale loaves. While Miss Martha was reaching to get them, a great noise came from outside. Bells started to ring loudly, some men were shouting, and soon several big fire trucks passed in front of the bakery. The gentleman hurried to the door for a look outside, as anyone would. At the moment, an idea came into Miss Martha's head, which she acted upon at once. On a table behind the counter was a pound of fresh butter that had been brought to the bakery just an hour earlier. Quickly, Miss Martha made a deep cut in each of the 2 loaves, placed a large amount of butter into each one, then pressed the loaves back together again. When the gentleman finally turned around, she was already putting the loaves into a bag. When he'd gone, after an especially nice little talk, Miss Martha's heart was smiling broadly. Later she wondered, had she been too forward? Would he enjoy her little gift? But surely it was all right for a lady to offer a gentleman a bit of butter. For a long time that day, Miss Martha thought about her surprise. She thought of her gentleman there in his room painting his beautiful picture. Soon he would lay down his paints and prepare to eat his daily lunch of a dry bread and water. He would open the loaf and Miss Martha wished she could be there to see it. Would he think of the hand that placed it there as he ate? Would he... The front door bell sounded loudly. Somebody was coming in, making a great deal of noise. Miss Martha hurried to the front. 2 men were there. One was a young man, whom she had never seen before. The other was her artist. His face was red, his hat was on the back of his head, and his hair was disorderly. He shook both his hands angrily at Miss Martha. "Foolish woman!" he shouted loudly in German, followed by several other unkind words which she did not understand. The young man tried to pull him away. "I will not go," he said angrily, "until I tell her." He hit the top of Miss Martha's counter a number of times. "You have destroyed me," he cried, his blue eyes burning behind his glasses. "I will tell you, you are a troublesome old cat." Miss Martha felt suddenly very weak. She could not believe what he was saying. Finally the young man took him by the arm. "Come on," he said, "you've said enough." He pulled the angry one away from the counter and out the door to the street. Then he came back. "I guess you ought to be told, ma'am," he said, "what the problem is. That's Mr. Blumberger. He is an architectural draftsman. He works in the same office. He's been working very hard now for 3 months on a plan for a new city hall building. He finished drawing the lines in ink yesterday. You know, a draftsman always makes his drawing in pencil first before he uses the ink. When it's done, he removes the pencil lines with stale bread because it works so well. Blumberger's been buying the bread here. Well, today, you know, ma'am, that butter isn't, Blumberger's plan isn't good for anything now except maybe to light a fire." Miss Martha walked slowly into the back room. She took off her favorite blue dress and put on the old brown one she usually wore. Then she picked up the bottle of beauty preparation and dropped it out of the window. Това е историята, скъпи олимпийци. Надявам се да ви е било интересно. Доста неочакван край, както ви казах. Следващата история отново ще бъде от О'Хенри. Така че другата неделя пак ще ви очаквам в 6 часа да почетем малко. Приятен празник и до скоро чуване и виждане. Чао!